I don't believe in goodbyes, I believe in adventures. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah! So today we are going to talk about how to deal with difficult people. Here's why we need to address this. We need to address this because people are going through a really stressful time in life, and when people are going through stressful times, they actually have a really tough time being kind, being generous, thinking things through very clearly, and wherever they are vibrationally is where they are imprinting all of their interactions. So basically, when people feel like shit, they treat you like shit. And obviously we all know this, but saying that is not an excuse to rationalize bad behavior or even start putting out toxic bad behavior yourself. When people are behaving badly, it's because they're scared, and oftentimes they feel out of control. They feel like they're not important, and they feel like they themselves don't have what they need, and they can't give themselves what they need. How do we deal with difficult people in our lives? First of all, we need to recognize when we are the difficult person, and we need to give ourselves what we need in those moments so that we don't hurt people or ultimately hurt ourselves. Number 2, we need to understand what drives the behavior. So what drives difficulty is oftentimes fear. So when people feel fearful, why is it that they're behaving or acting a certain way? We need to ask ourselves that. The best way to disarm someone's fear is to address it. So whatever they're afraid of, you can even just ask them with simple questions of how and why, and do it in a non-confrontational way. When you are friendly towards difficult people, they actually lessen their difficulty because they feel powerful, they feel seen, they feel heard, and it's really important to listen to what they say and also repeat a few of the words that they share. And so the way that you do this is you ask them, oh, why is this, upsetting you or causing you fear? And then they will say it, and you could say, okay, so I am hearing that XYZ is making you upset. Is that right? And how can I help fix that problem? And just be really genuine when you're doing this, because at the end of the day, if you have to interact with a difficult person at work or in your family, it's really hard and it's really draining and no one wants to do it. But when you have to interact with them because you have to honor your commitments, then you need to find a way to do it that disarms their difficulty. So once you've learned why they are behaving a certain way and you disarm the difficulty, then you ask them what the solution is. And the reason why you want to ask them what the solution is because it's their idea. So if it's their idea and they are a difficult person, that means it's a good idea, and it's probably the best idea that anyone will come up with in their mind. Some of you who are watching might be feeling like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to let this person walk all over me and ultimately take advantage of me. And that's a really normal feeling, but at the end of the day, if you have to interact with them, you have to make it work for everyone, and the best way to do that in this situation is by keeping the peace. A lot of times having a peaceful relationship is way more important than being right, because at the end of the day, we are human beings, and compassion is what will make our connections so much stronger. That doesn't mean that we don't talk about our point of view or communicate our own needs or our own desired outcomes. It just means that we take the time to listen to other people, hear them out, hear their solution and how we can help, and start to implement at least part of that so that you can really have something come together that's much more peaceful and much more rational and calm. We're going through one of the most stressful times in the last at least 3 decades, and there are so many people who are not only difficult in their interpersonal communications, but also they're just going through a difficult time and they don't know what to do, and they might not have even handled themselves well during the great times. So now when they're in a difficult time, they're even worse. And all we can do is focus on what we can contribute and do that, because people who are difficult oftentimes are coming from a competitive perspective. So a lot of times at work, people will talk about, like, oh, this is my standard, or this is what I see for my company, or whatever it may be. And those elements of being so competition driven, it's actually the opposite of how success works and how humanity works as a whole. When people are me, competition, they actually are only serving their fears. But instead, we want to focus on positively serving as many people as we can. And it's not a cheesy concept. It's actually how we survive. The more people you know, the more people you can easily communicate with, the more you are able to survive in a variety of different situations. So you might be sitting there and thinking that this is silly, but it's not silly. Understanding a difficult person will help you understand the next difficult person so much more, and nothing is more valuable than that. So as difficult people show up in your life, start to ask yourself, where are my boundaries? How can I deal with you in a way that doesn't compromise myself? Because you have to be committed to yourself and your well-being no matter what. And difficult people are everywhere. So you can't think that cutting someone out is going to stop you from encountering difficulty or difficult people. That's not to say or justify bad behavior. It's just working a muscle, as my coach would say. So as you move throughout the day, I challenge you to send compassion to all of the difficult people that are showing up. And this could be, like the neighbor who's moving in, who spends all morning banging things into your door. That's weird. That's really weird. But instead of being upset, I could have compassion and embrace that some people are just not as good at having self-awareness. And that's what 30 Days of Ease is all about. It's all about having enough self-awareness to know when we are operating in a place where we are creating a positive ripple effect, or when we are perpetuating a negative ripple effect. And the reason why I'm saying perpetuating is because we at our core are good. People always want to be good. They want to feel like they belong and like they have value. And we all do have value. We all do have good parts. We also have bad parts. So comment below and tell me, when you are operating from a place of healthy ego, what is one thing you do? So another word for healthy ego is just positive sense of self. When you are operating from a negative ego place, a negative place, negative sense of self, what are some actions that you take? For me, I noticed that and I'm sharing this so that maybe it can help you uncover your own, when I am operating from a bad sense of self, where I'm just like in a lower vibration ego mode, I end up buying a lot of junk that I don't need because it's on sale. So for me, that was an unexpected realization, but an important one, because now I can take a moment and be like, what's going on with me right now? Why am I doing this? And then I have the window, and now you have the window for your own version of this, to sit down and have a conversation with yourself about what's happening and why you feel out of control. And we're gonna do a little shamanic technique that I learned from Shaman Durek to help you understand what's going on and really get to the root of it. Because look, when you are operating from a place of unhealthy ego, it's actually really overwhelming, and it's really hard to know how to get yourself out of that space. We have all been there. So this is what I've been doing for the last week. It has been amazing, and I hope that you like it too. Okay, so taking deep inhales and exhales. One hand over your heart, one hand over your belly. Bringing in fresh oxygen. And now say, ancestors, show me the root cause of the imbalance that I'm feeling. And notice what comes up. It might surprise you. And just breathe into that. And don't judge. Just sit and allow your mind to essentially wander. And if nothing is showing up for you, then you can say, I am afraid, and I release it. I am afraid, and I allow myself to see. And just keep doing that as much as you can, and see how this changes not only your day, but your life. And when you are going to deal with someone who really is so difficult, send yourself a burst of love. And you can do this. Just, I envision neon pink light just like glowing within me, like a column of light. And I stay there until I feel like it's entirely there, almost like a protective shield. And then I interact with them, because it changes the way I show up. It makes me kinder. It helps me have the positive, productive conversation with them rather than the ego-based conversation. And it really helps things uncover, and you wind up hearing much more about what's driving the irrational behavior than if you walked in being like, you're all about you and now I'm all about me, because that doesn't work for anyone long term. Remember, we are pack animals. We need each other, and people are just much happier when they are taking the time to genuinely connect and discuss what's going on with an open mind. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I'd love to hear about how that meditation technique worked for you. Again, it's from Shaman Durek, and he has a book called Spirit Hacking that has been so incredible with tons of tips like this. And honestly, I open the book every day and I do different techniques. So I really recommend that you check out his channel as well, and I'll link it below. He has definitely revolutionized the way that I view spirituality, and really has taken the woo-woo, fluffy fakeness that I disliked and thrown it out the window, so that people can just be genuine and real and way less judgmental towards themselves and others. So have an amazing day, and remember that we all have our turn being the difficult person, And the more that we can be compassionate, the better.
This is Diaz and Gupta from lovethealchemist.com. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, and follow me on Instagram for inspirational content that comes out daily. I love comments. I love to hear about what you're looking for. So do not be a stranger. I love you guys.